Thank you, Chair. The live stream has now started. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Before the commencement of business, can I remind everybody, please, present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewing. If a participant wishes to speak, can they please raise their hand in person if sat in the chamber, or use the remote raise hand function. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. So please could I welcome all committee and non-committee elected members, cabinet members, our officers, and also to anyone watching the live meeting broadcast. Thank you. So welcome everybody to the Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday, the 1st of April 2025 at 5 p.m. Part 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies, please?
None received via myself, Chair.
No, I haven't received any either. Thank you. Which moves us on to agenda item 2, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of March to be approved as a correct record. Does anybody wish to bring anything up, or can we approve them as correct record? Councillor Jane Norman.
I passed.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. I will second those then, as I have read them, gone through them. Thank you, which takes us on to agenda. Councillor Neil Thomas.
Yeah, sorry, Chair.
Okay.
I don't believe Councillor Lloyd Selby is with us. I got a WhatsApp message saying she's tried to join, but is having trouble with her laptop.
Can I leave that with you, Amy?
Yeah. I'll ask my colleague Matthew to contact her as we proceed.
Thank you. Agenda item 3 is to receive declarations of interest and the nature of such interests, including whipping declarations under the Council's Code of Conduct. Councillor Neil Thomas. It's gone.
Sorry, Chair, that was legacy.
Okay, thought it might be. Thank you. I can't see any hands up at the moment, so I'll take that there are no declarations, which moves us on to agenda item 4, which is the Q3 Revenue Monitoring 24-25 from the Cabinet on the 6th of March 2025. Can we proceed with that, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Apologies, Chair. Okay, thank you. So this just sets out the revenue position to the end of December 2024. And in terms of looking at the kind of overall position for the council first, so unplanned use of reserves are reported as a drawdown of 12.7 million. So that represents kind of continued pressure across schools' budgets, pressures in school transport in respect of ALM pupils. In terms of the social services specific position, we're seeing some growth in the pressure in children and young people services and a slight improvement in the position across adult services and the resource management and safeguarding part of the service. We're also seeing overall at council level some improvement due to the pay grant that was allocated in year. And some additional income being generated in both place and neighbourhood services that have improved that out-term position. And we've recognised a higher council tax surplus and some benefit from not having to do quite as much external borrowing as we have budgeted for. Because of the position in schools, so whilst we expect the schools deficit position to improve, we don't expect the position to improve sufficiently that there won't be a net deficit. So this kind of monitoring assumes there'll be a schools net deficit of around 4 million, and so it takes some of that benefit, that £2 million council tax surplus, and it sets it aside to offset the impact of school deficits on reserves. And so that's why overall that unplanned use of reserves has stayed broadly the same from Q2, despite some of that additional grant that has been reported as part of this report. We are seeing more grants come through in the last quarter of the financial year, so my expectation is that there will be some further improvement on the figures that are included in this report. Looking specifically now at the social services position, so in terms of children's services, as I say, we've seen a slight increase in the overspend in this area. And that's because of a number of pressures. So we have some pressures in areas such as domiciliary care and childcare and carer costs, where there is no or very little budget for these areas of expenditure. But both of those pressures are supporting children to remain at home or prevent escalation to higher cost arrangements. We have an overspend against the external placements budget of around 3 million. And some overspend projecting against the national minimum fostering allowance as well. We also have some expenditure against bespoke packages and some expenditure against agency costs, although at the point in time of writing, the expectation was that that would be mitigated going into 25-26. In terms of the adult services position, there was some improvement in that kind of projection for year end, and that's in part due to additional Welsh Government grant that's been allocated. Also in terms of some of the income for care placements, those kind of deferred payment arrangements, some additional income has been recognised in year there. And there's also some staff vacancies that have had an impact on that projected outturn position. And then in terms of the resource management and safeguarding position at Q3, we were projecting some improvement in that service. So underspends against some of the business intelligence and commissioning budgets. We do have overspends against the safeguarding budget, and that's in part due to some of the agency expenditure we have in that part of the budget. And those roles have been recruited to on a permanent basis to take us into 25-26. And we also have some overspends against residential care homes. We have had some additional funding allocated to that budget to offset some of those energy costs, and obviously we've seen the benefit of the kind of staffing pay grant, but I think that's a budget obviously that we need to keep an eye on, albeit the overspend that we're reporting in year is slightly less than the overspend we were reporting this time last year. So those are the main points I was going to draw out on the report, but I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you, Gemma. Does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to make? Can you just tell me, Gemma, the job vacancies that are there, are these to be filled?
Councillor Charles, I think I oversimplified it slightly there. So there are some vacant posts, I think, within adult services, but we've also got some roles that are kind of substantially funded from grant funded as well. So it's a slightly more rounded picture. I know there are some vacancies that have been filled on a part year basis as well. So obviously we've seen that kind of underspend in 24-25, but we've recruited to those posts in the year. I don't know whether any of the social services management team want to add to that at all.
Doesn't look like, Gemma. Thank you for that. Has anybody else got any questions they'd like to ask on it? Well, we've been given this so we can have regard to the content of both the Cabinet reference and appended report to ensure that we remain updated on the in-year revenue monitoring position at Q3. So the recommendation is that both the Cabinet references and appended Cabinet report be noted. Are we happy with that? Councillor Neil Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd like to thank Gemma and her team for this report. I mean, it is highly detailed and very, very clear, which I think is reflected by the lack of questions that we have. So I'd like to move the report and move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Ian Buckley.
Just seconding, Chair, and agree with Neil's comments. Thanks for the report, and it has answered all the questions prior to us coming here.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks very much. Thank you, Gemma, which takes us on to agenda item 5, which is the capital monitoring for the period of the 1st of April to the 31st of December 2024 and Cabinet at the 6th of March 2025. This is the last monitoring for this year, and then we move into the next budget. So it's all yours, Gemma. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And I really will very briefly touch on this report because there actually aren't any changes that are relevant to this scrutiny committee from what I can see within the report. So it's obviously reporting the position to the 31st of December. There is some slippage reflected in the report. There's no slippage that's relevant to social services. And as far as I can see, apologies if I've missed anything, but I can't see any slippage relevant to leisure services either. There is a scheme highlighted in there relating to a flying start scheme. So there's a photograph in the report just setting out some of the work that's been done there. And obviously, I just wanted to draw out that obviously there are, a number of schemes in the kind of social services part of the capital programme, and obviously some really good transformational work that's being taken place as part of that social services Invest to Save scheme, where some residential accommodation is being developed. So there's some acquisitions and adaptations taking place as part of that scheme in year. But those are the main points on that report. So very brief, but happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you once more, Gemma. Welcome, Councillor Lloyd Selby. Did you have any declarations of interest?
I don't, Chair, and apologies for being late. Thank you for checking.
Thank you. Right, on agenda item 5, again, this was for us to have regard to the content of both the Cabinet reference and the appended report to ensure that committee remained updated on the in-year capital monitoring position at Q3. So therefore, because of that, the recommendation was that both the Cabinet reference and appended Cabinet report be noted. Councillor Neil Thomas.
Yeah, again, it's an excellent report put together. There is nothing in it really for us, for this committee within our remit. Therefore, I move we note as per the recommendations.
Yeah, and I will second that. Thank you very much, Neil. Which moves us on then to agenda item 6. This is a very good directorate report, I felt. And Lance, are you there? Are you going to present this for us, please?
Yes, I will. Sorry about the slight pause there. First thing I should do is apologise for a mistake on the covering report where it says purpose of report. It actually says to seek members' endorsement of the Learning and Skills Directorate Plan. Obviously, that's not what we're here for. It's to actually seek endorsement of the Social Services Directorate Plan. So I'm sure that was fairly obvious for the eagle-eyed among you that that was just a mistake. But I think what's really positive to share in terms of the Directorate Plan is the way it's been developed has been very engaging. I think we've been able to work through a number of different levels of management within social services and both with the corporate centre in terms of ensuring good alignment with Vail 2030. And so I'm pleased really with how the Directorate Plan has shaped up. it's in the attached document, so it's one of the appendices, and I am really conscious that it is there and amongst all of the other directorate plans, so it can be difficult to find. When I was trying to do it earlier, if you look at the page numbers at the top rather than the ones at the bottom, they're easier to guide, and so that directorate, the social services directorate report, is from pages 38 to 68 of those. Unfortunately, the numbers are still there at the bottom, so it can be a little bit confusing. Really pleased to take any questions about it. But before I do that, I would just like to draw attention to a number of things that are within it. I'm not going to talk about some of the stuff that is how we actually developed it or the broad content, but you'll notice that there is a number of risks that are highlighted within the report, and there are some things you may think are missing, and the ones that are missing tend to be social services risks that are considered more widely as corporate risks. So it's not that they are actually missing, it's just that they're not featuring just as directorate only ones. The other thing that I think is worth noting is that there are a number of reshaping and efficiency savings targets within the report. They, I think, start on page 43, and obviously those are represent significant activity for us going forward into next year, so it's right that I highlight those to you. The next part of the report looks at engagement and insight and talks about some of the engagement work that we do. You'll be familiar with that from the previous director's report, but this is looking forward and so describes some of the work that we'll be doing in the future. And then I think the key part of the report really starts on page 53 for us, which is the directorate actions. And I can't remember how many we ended up with in the end, but I think a lot of them wrote themselves. There are some really key things we have to get on with in social services next year. We clearly have to implement our new IT system. You're very aware of that, and we also have to implement new children's accommodation as we described in terms of the eliminate agenda. So some things really coming at us and very clearly needing to be part of our plans. And some of it perhaps a little bit more of a continuation of some of the work that we've been doing. But I'm really pleased with those actions. They replace what were 3 separate service plan actions, which have become probably an area of duplication and potentially unnecessary bureaucracy. And I think this has really helped streamline some of that. And I hope from a member's perspective, it's easier to follow what it is we're doing in terms of strategic direction by these broader actions. So I'm not going to say anything else because I think it would probably be best to go for questions, but I'm obviously here and happy to answer any. Unfortunately, a couple of my heads of service aren't available today, so if you have questions for them that I can't answer, I will follow them up for you.
Thank you, Lance. As I said, I read it through and I thought it was a very good directorate plan indeed, and a new way of going forward. Right, I'm sure you'll appreciate all the comments and thoughts from the rest of the committee. Can I bring in Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson first, please?
Hi all, just to tell Amy I am here. I had difficulty logging on, but I've been from the beginning. A fantastic report as always. I'm very keen on seeing anything to do with social care and health, obviously. The Eliminate initiative, I'm so glad to see that that's still in the forefront, because you do worry when cuts happen and things happen. So that is good news. And just thank you for all your hard work, because it's a very pleasing thing to read. The enthusiasm, I think, comes out when you read this document in particular. So just carry on, and thank you very much.
I'm afraid you're off screen, Chair.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with Julie and yourself, Chair, that again, it's an excellent report. I just wonder whether, Lance, you'd like to comment on the work we're doing with the Health Board in terms of people needing support as they leave hospital and the kind of work that's going on there, please.
Yes, certainly. As always, there's a lot of work going on in that space, and I think, you know, I'm really pleased to say that the performance at the moment of the Vale Glamorgan is probably the best it has ever been. Discharges are happening much faster than they happened before, and if I'm honest, that's probably not as much to do with specific hospital focused actions, but it's to do with probably more to do with our commissioning approaches and the development of domiciliary care availability, which you've heard me talk about before, so I won't repeat that. But one of the things that I noticed, you know, you'll be aware as this committee that some time ago we had significant delays in delivering domiciliary care for people. That for February reached the lowest period of time for an average care package that it's ever done, and that's same day. So that's doesn't mean the agency will start that exact same day, obviously, but it does mean that we'll put all those arrangements in place on the same day. So some really, really positive work. The other, I suppose, significant component is the hospital discharge team. So that's a group of social workers, very ably managed, I should say, as well, who work tirelessly, really, at making sure that they can respond to assessments as fast as possible. We continue to work closely and well with Cardiff and Vale Health Board, and that's really, really positive. And I think that in many ways has helped us to achieve the position that we're currently in.
Thank you, Lance. Amy? Did you want to come in, Amy?
Yes, please, Chair. It was just on behalf of the Head of Democratic Services, I'd like to thank the members who attended the member briefing that was offered by the Director of Corporate Performance and Resources last week, which really helped to set the scene in terms of how the previous service plans have now transcribed over to the 5 directorate plans that are currently going through the scrutiny cycle and will be forwarded to the Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee as the lead committee. So the Head of Democratic just wanted me to take the time to thank members for that. And obviously, as a consequence of that, members' feedback was taken on board, and all members of the committee were provided with some additional pieces of supplementary information for this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Can I bring back in Councillor Julie Lynch-Wilson? Julie, did you have any declarations of interest?
No, I haven't got any declarations of interest, and I would just like to say that on the point of speeding up people coming into care homes, etc., or domiciliary care, it's chalk and cheese to what it was when I started 8 years ago. Obviously, I'm in the private sector, but we've recently had 3 or 4 residents who were not suitable really for residential care and needed to be in their own homes. And the speed is just, well, it's breathtaking to what it used to be. So things are definitely coming along. Obviously, nothing is perfect, nothing ever is. But it's chalk and cheese to when I first started, because I mean, it'd be weeks and weeks and weeks. But now it's the turnaround is as fast as people can do it. So well done, everybody.
Thank you, Julie. Can I bring in anybody else that would like to have some thoughts or some comments on the plan? Nobody? In that case, Lance, I'd like to thank you very, very much for this excellent report and the work that is going on and you have been able to deliver recently. The reasons for the recommendations is that, once again, we have regard to the content of the report to ensure that the planned activities, associated measures, and the performance targets for the Social Service Directorate, as detailed in the plan, are relevant and, together with the 4 Directorate plans, become the main means through which performance against FAIL 2030 is monitored and measured during 25-26. And I think we are doing that. And for the Director's presentation of the Directorate plans at the Corporate Performance and Resource Scrutiny Committee in order for a composite response to be developed and referred back to Cabinet on the 1st of May 2025. And I think we've achieved that. So the recommendations are that Social Services Directorate plan and associated measures and performance targets for 25-26 contained within as set out in Appendix A of the report be endorsed. And the second recommendation is that the committee's endorsement of Social Service Directorate plan be passed to the Directorate of Corporate Performance and Resources. So can I have a...
Happy to move.
Thank you.
Delighted to move, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good. We have a second. Councillor Ian Buckley.
Yeah, I'd like to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lance, and thank you to your team. And which takes us on to agenda item 7, which is any items which the Chair has decided are urgent, and I have none. And part 2, we have none, and that must be the shortest HLSC meeting ever. But thank you all very much for your attendance and especially the enthusiasm for the report. And thank you, Neil, as well, for being my second. And wishing you all the very, very best and see what happens next. Thank you all. Yeah. Good night.
Take care all. And yeah, I think we all want to get out into the sunshine.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.